ago. So let me introduce Representative Nick Schroeder from District 107. Nick, how are you?
I am pretty good. I'm at the Capitol, just done presenting my bill. And I think it's times like this with Russia, with Syria, and with this San Bernardino shooting that our Second Amendment rights, we got to thank our founding to allow them, putting that in the Constitution. It's just terrible times right now. Yeah, well, I talked about your bill a few minutes ago, but I'm thrilled that you had a couple minutes to join us. You had a hearing on this today. This is the concealed firearms bill that would basically say if you have a gun-free zone sign in your window and something happens inside your facility, you can be held liable for it. Yeah, and it's something that I've talked to a lot of business owners, talked to a lot of business invitees, customers, just like you and I, and explain to them that under the current law, without my bill, premises liability in the state of Missouri still allows anyone and everyone to sue if they believe that they've been victimized by a dangerous condition, which has been fostered by the business owner or landowner. And what this would do, while encouraging Second Amendment rights and while encouraging people to allow individuals, Missourians, to exercise their Second Amendment rights, this would actually limit and constrain the liability that a business owner would have, especially with this amendment that I put on today. So I assume at this public hearing, probably the Bloomberg group sent representative. Were there people down there just raising Cain and talking about the end of civilization if you pass this? Not necessarily. They didn't testify. There was one volunteer who did testify for Bloomberg's group, the Moms Demand Action. Yeah. I think they have another name, another moniker on the other side of the country. But they've appeared on almost every sub-hearing that we've had on not only my bill, but the other Second Amendment bills. Right. But there were about, I think, 40 or 50 of them today. And they would just snicker while people would testify. And, when I mentioned places like the San Bernardino shooting, the Aurora, Colorado, that this is an instance. These are instances across the nation that we want to prevent from happening here in the state of Missouri to the people that I represent, our families, our friends, and just the snickers that were coming from this group. Now, I do understand that they believe that their plan of action is going to keep Missourians safer, and we differ on that. But just hear that when these terrible things are going on in the state of Missouri just is a little disheartening. Yeah, so you said you were going to, the article I read said you were going to add an amendment that would bar business owners who decide to allow guns in their facility from liability. Is that correct, unless there is extreme negligence? Correct. So if somebody wants to allow Missourians who are coming in, invitees that they're bringing into their business, to exercise their Second Amendment rights to keep their family safe, if something were to happen, barring, like you said, the wanton willful negligence, extreme negligence per se, then they're not going to be held liable. So basically the idea is not to kind of open this thing up for frivolous lawsuits. Correct. And that's, when I filed the bill, being an attorney, that's the stigma that comes along with the JD at the end of your name, is that you're just going to be an ambulance-chasing attorney. But being, actually, for the sponsor of 97.1 shows, Arrowhead Building Supply, I'm general counsel for them. Right. My goal is to, protect and preserve the Second Amendment rights of Missourians and U.S. citizens, but at the same time, figuring out how we can keep businesses prosperous and keep them safe in what they do, whatever it is, whatever widget they make. I don't want to open anything that they do up to frivolous lawsuits. What we're trying to do down here is prevent those frivolous lawsuits. We've got a bill coming that's going to change one factor, which I could go on and on about changing the contributing factor language in certain bills that has contributed to tons of different frivolous lawsuits, to a motivating factor. Right. And people claim that you're helping only big companies if you do that. I've heard that argument before, which is a shame. Just to be clear, we're talking to Nick Schroeder, state representative from out in the O'Fallon, Missouri area. Just to be clear, this would only affect private businesses, right? It wouldn't affect schools and public buildings and things like that, right? You're correct. Okay. There's a certain prong in the law under Chapter 571 that already states that certain places do not apply when it comes to these constitutional carry laws: schools, bars, amusement parks, places like Busch Stadium. I'm not touching that right now. I believe they're having a conversation right now. I just stepped out of a committee hearing on a bill by Representative Jared Taylor, who's kind of touching on that aspect of it, but my bill will not touch any of those.
Good. All right. Listen, Nick, I appreciate your time. Thanks for giving us a few minutes and kind of explaining this a little more. Let us know how it goes.
Perfect. All right. Stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Great talking to you. Thank you very much. State Representative Nick Schroer from District 107 out in O'Fallon. The O'Fallon. Hopefully that cleared it up a little bit. And he says they've got safeguards in there to make sure there aren't just frivolous lawsuits. But maybe it'll make people think a little bit. Tony Colombo